Hello, everyone. It's the Jarek Brian Show. My name is Jarek, and guys, finally, today, we have an amazing guest on the show. I finally got him. We got Shaz from Danketsu. And Shaz, how you doing, buddy?
Good, mate. Good. As I was saying to you offline, it's a miracle, right? It's finally happening. So
I've been
it's
trying to
good to
get
be
him
here.
for forever on the show,
Yeah,
so I finally got him.
yeah, no, so good to be here, mate. And obviously, I'm a fan of what you do, love what you do. So excited to be on to talk about Danketsu.
Yeah, no, and you guys have been busy, right? And you guys got, you know, all came over here from like Cardano. You've been here on Polygon. You guys have been hitting the ground running. But before we get into all that, right? Kind of tell us about you, Shaz. Like, how did you end up all the way here to Danketsu, right? And give us your story here to Web3.
Yeah, yeah, for sure, man. It's an interesting one, right? I don't come from a tech background. I don't come from an art background. I used to work in government. I used to work in academia
Mm.
before that in Australia. In government, I was sitting with or rather, my colleague was my co-founder of at Danketsu, Tommy, and we started getting into crypto back in like 2019. And then when the NFT side of it started popping on Ethereum, for us, it was like, whoa, whoa, we love anime, all that jazz, and there's potential to do something here. Uh, but let's really, do something different. And that's where the concept of, at that time, known as Ada Ninjas, came through,
Mm.
where the NFTs give you access to voting on the story, the lore, which is now essentially, gamification of multimedia. So we've sort of nailed the terminology after all this time. Uh, but yeah, that's how it all started, man. And I mean, I have a background in obviously research, policy, project management, marketing. That's kind of where I come from. I actually do a lot of, or used to do a lot of hip hop and spoken word. So there's a quite a bit of. We have an NFT on Cardano that actually includes a founders edition song, where yours truly does a bit of hip hop. So
Oh,
uh, yeah, so there is a bit of creative flair in this mind of mine, but aside from that, a lot of nice soft skills.
oh yeah. I didn't know that. I didn't know that you had have a music background too as well. And as someone that's you guys were Ada Ninjas, right? Or you still are, right? And you guys have come over here, right? And built on like Polygon, right? But could you kind of tell us your journey from Ada Ninjas all the way to here, and kind of tell us about like the whole Cardano journey too as well.
Yeah, 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 for sure. So, when we were mostly losing money flipping NFTs on Ethereum back when, back in 2021, and we came up with this whole idea. We were just kind of like, look, what is another chain that has NFTs and where we're more likely to make it without having, a large amount of capital investment? And we looked at Solana, and Solana's great, but there was still a significant amount of competition there. We held bags of ADA, and we went there, and we're like, oh, okay, so the scene here is still quite young. I think that following, Space Buds, I think we minted like 3 or 4 weeks after Playmates. So very, very early
Love
on. And they're obviously, one of the biggest projects on Cardano. So we went there, we minted, or started there, and the journey's been great. We're still very much on Cardano. We're we've done a whole bunch of stuff there. I was at the Cardano Summit in Dubai in November, which was awesome. Met a lot of people, have very strong relationships in that ecosystem, pretty much know everybody. But in November 2022, so just over a year after we had launched, we decided to rebrand whole scale. So we switched from being Ada Ninjas to Danketsu. And because we do everything from a story point of view or a lore kind of element, what was important to us was it ties in with where the project is, where the IP of Danketsu is. So some fun facts about like the whole Ada Ninjas thing. Obviously, Ada Ninjas, Ada is for Cardano's token, but Ada also stood for the three clans or collections, Aramar, Daisuke, and Tsuko. So ADA. And then ADAN or Adan is actually the name of our protagonist in the whole story. So that also ties in with the lore. And then Adan's the basic premise of it is that Adan unites all the clans of Danketsu, and his surname is Danketsu, which means united in Japanese. So we had this major burn event where people burnt something like 7,000 NFTs to create, 1,600 NFTs, and in that we essentially had all the clans come together and become united. So that's why we thought perfect, let's go Danketsu. But then on the more operational side of it, the rebrand was because we were talking about expanding multi-chain, and we were like, if we're Ada Ninjas, naturally we can't be on Polygon, or any other chain for that matter, because we get stuck on a particular chain. So I think it was overwhelmingly positive, the sort of response to it. I don't think anyone had any complaints. It made a lot of sense. Yeah, so that was how we got to that point of Danketsu.
Yeah, and I noticed that even with Ada Ninjas and Danketsu, right? Anime, the whole lore is very much represented here. Like it's like an inspiration to you guys, right? And with the recent I would say recent, fairly recent popularity of like anime, like in in the mainstream kind of like culture, right? And it's becoming more popular now. Whereas when I was going to school, right, you were a nerd watching anime, man. You got beat up watching anime. And can you kind of like talk about are you an anime fan yourself? And how do you feel about anime becoming more popular and more kind of like I said, mainstream?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Look, I mean, so I lived, I kind of grew up between Australia and Dubai.
Hmm.
And we were sort of the era of Dragon Ball Z and Pokemon
Hmm.
when I was growing up, and it was crazy in Dubai. So we didn't have, Wi-Fi or wireless internet back then. Heck, you had 56 kbps, right? Dial-up, you know what I'm talking about. Uh, so what people would do is you'd have these internet cafes preloaded with all the new episodes of the anime, and like myself and my mates would go in. You pay, like $2 or $3, and you get 2 hours to sit on the computer, and we just watch all the episodes of whatever show it was. Uh, well, when it was Dragon Ball Z and Pokemon, I was a bit younger, so I didn't have that kind of pocket money. But when I was a teenager, we'd go watch like Naruto and things like that. So it was pretty popular when I was growing up, but obviously not in the mainstream in the same way that it is now. I've been a fan, I'm a lot more picky with what I watch now, obviously, lack of time,
Hmm.
but also, you generally become picky as you get older, right? So, I'm definitely a fan. I like to read manga once in a while. Again, super picky, don't have a lot of time for it. But I think it's been awesome, right? Like you're seeing, it's a multi-billion-dollar industry just in the U.S. alone.
Hmm.
Forget the Asia Pacific, Europe. Forget all the other parts of the world, Africa, South America. Um, and that's reflected in our community, right? So when, based on the data that we have available regarding the demographics of the people that kind of engage with Danketsu, I would say about 30% of them are in North America, 30% are in Europe, and then 30% are in the 35% are in the APAC region, so Asia and Australia. And then, the remaining are sort of peppered between South America and Africa. But the fact that, 60% of the people engaging with our project are not in Asia, and they're into anime, they're in Europe and America. It says a lot about who the markets are, and we're seeing this on Netflix and things like that as well, where they're releasing the new season of One Piece is available on Netflix. Freaking that show's been running forever, right? And people all over the West watch it like crazy. I quit when I was like watching, at least I quit when I was 17, and I was at like episode 400 something. It's at like 1200 now.
Yeah.
The insanity, and people watch it. So the fan base is huge, and it's a great fit with blockchain as well. I think as blockchain continues to mature and then the ecosystems continue to sort of grow out, there's going to be a lot more opportunity for projects that kind of go down this path.
Yeah, no, I totally agree, and I love the fact that it's actually, I said more mainstream, more acceptable, and everybody's kind of really kind of watching it, right? And speaking of like the artwork, and everything like that, like there's certain traits in each of the Danketsu that I find so interesting, whether it be the paper bag, right, or like the tight hoodie, or like the different traits, right? And can you name some of your favorite traits, right? And like, what do they kind of represent to you?
Oh wow, that's a good question, man. We've done so many traits, and up until the Polygon collection, we hadn't actually done a single trait that wasn't original. And what I mean by original is not sort of representing some sort of pop culture or another project. Maybe I'll give a trait per collection, because we've essentially got five
Mm,
collections, and under about 20K NFTs, but about five collections. The RMR, obviously the OGs, season one on Cardano. There's a purple gold mask,
mm-hmm,
and that's become synonymous with the project itself. And we've had a lot of projects cover, or rather, take that trait and use it to kind of represent us, or shout out to sort of Danketsu. So that's definitely my favorite there. There's also Golden Claws, which I like quite a bit. There's like a Yuhu mask, because of course it was COVID time, so we got a Yuhu mask, and there's only three of those in the whole collection. Those are pretty rare. Season two Atsuko, there's a toy hammer weapon, which I just love. I think it's so funny. So we added that in. Daisuke, which is the third season, is one of my favorites because all the NFTs are animated and they all have music. So that took a lot of time, to get ready. Within that, we have a companion, which is this mushroom with
mm-hmm.
like a kunai dagger, and that's where we introduce that mushroom, who's now gone on to become like our second mascot, called Bobo. So, sorry, no, Bobo is our mascot, called Shroomy, who's actually a one of one on Polygon. So that's definitely my favorite collection there, trait there. In the fourth, oh man, there's a whole bunch. I love the wings. I love the dark wings that we have, which is a rare trait. And then in the Polygon collection, I cannot give you a favorite trait because they're
A lot of
like,
good ones.
you know, yeah, even now, like, 5 or 6 months since we sold out, people still go in and they're like, crap, I didn't even know this trade existed. Because, 44 collection with about 44400 traits. It's wild. So it's a tough one. I love the gold traits. I think they're cool. I love the ape body, because we have the white ape and the blue ape. There's only like 50 in the whole collection. So I do really like those as well.
that was like, that's great. I love all the traits that they have. Yeah, there's so many like, good traits and everything like that. And also, too, what I want to ask you mentioned music, right? And you have a music background, right? And Danketsu has like a lot of like music parts of it too as well. Like, where do you see music in Web3, and do you think that's actually going to have like a real kind of big future? Artists are going to be able to have more kind of control over the content they push out, right? And we're not so much these record labels are kind of like I guess you could say screwing them out of money and whatnot, and people have more freedom to create the music or content they want, though. But what's your take on music and Web3 and the future of it?
Yeah, look, 100%, right? I think there's huge potential, and a great thing that kind of exemplifies it, right, is you're familiar with like Chance the Rapper.
Hmm.
When Chance, Chance was the first independent, one of the first, or maybe the first independent musician to be nominated for a Grammy and win. And he basically pulled the community over, all his fans, and they got together to kind of make this happen, make it a success. We've seen things like with the British charts. I think like the Billboard charts in the UK, every Christmas or Christmas, the week of like the end of the year, they'd have a Britain's Got Talent singer who would top the charts, and the people there got so frustrated that what they decided was to work together to push Rage Against the Machine song up to the top of the charts as number one, right? Just as a like an fu to the corporate structure around it, and that's a very strong basis for what a blockchain is as a whole, right? So the fact that you're getting this opportunity to part to participate, to be a part of, to get to know artists, musicians, songs, all that jazz. That's a huge part of it. But then at the same time, it's also the freedom to create your own music, distribute it yourself, launch it yourself, make money off it, and then also make money off the royalty side, right? That's what everyone kind of talks about. So that avenue opens up another door for musicians. So 100%, I think it's a it's there is obviously room for a little bit of concern, or rather worry, in that if the corporates come in quickly enough, they then have the possibility of taking over or monopolizing that part of the industry as well on blockchain. But you're always going to have indie artists doing well, and blockchain's going to become a part of that, just like lots of other things that we're seeing it getting integrated with more and more.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree, and I'm very excited for the future, of Web3. But kind of getting back to Danketsu, right, and you kind of explain the hustle platform to the people watching this.
Yeah. So, Danketsu Hustle is essentially what we would call an idle game.
Mhm.
And it's an idle game that also works as a white label service. So it's two pronged. The basic premise of it, or the first phase of it, is what we call farming, which is live on Cardano and Polygon, which is sending your NFTs to farm, or what you would call staking, essentially. And it's all non-custodial on both chains. So you can send your Danketsu NFTs to stake, and you get our Ninjas token. Is the background noise okay, or is it getting too loud?
No, it's good.
Okay, cool. As long as it's fine on your end. So that's the first part of it. The second part of it is obviously what we've been working on, launching, improving over the last 6 months, which is Danketsu missions. So that's the first phase of the idle game part of it. And what that is taking your ninjas, your Danketsu ninjas, and sending them on these missions. And what that means is part strategy, part random luck. You take your NFT, you send it on a lower based mission, and from there they get one of four outcomes. Depending on the outcome, they progress in the story, they receive some token, they receive some XP, and then of course they're competing with other people on the leaderboard, which results in prizes and all of that. So that's a very simple explanation of what it is. We've had over something like, oh, what was it, like 90,000 missions played. So that's a pretty big number, and a couple of thousand wallets connected just on the Danketsu side. So that's been testament to people wanting to try out the game and experience it. So yeah, it's been pretty cool. We're integrating more and more things into it. We obviously went live on Polygon last week. So now you can toggle the chain you want to be on. The cool thing that we have coming up is that the leaderboard is actually going to be integrated with both chains. So once you connect, if you have a Cardano wallet connected in there or a Polygon wallet connected in there, and then you decide to connect the other chain's wallet, it'll give you a prompt saying this will sync the two wallets together, and you will get accumulated XP on the leaderboard. So you're actually in a more advantageous position if you are doing it on both chains in terms of the leaderboard to win prizes and to rank up on that front. So it's an idle game which also has lots of gamification elements, and then of course there's the white label service part of it too.
Yeah, and I find that like very interesting, especially like with the ninjas token, right? And what can exactly you do with the ninjas token, right? And how does it like work in the Danketsu ecosystem?
Yeah, so at the moment, I think the beauty of it is that you earn this ninjas or you receive this ninjas token, which is also cross chain. So you can trade it, bridge it, use it on both blockchains. We've created what is essentially a circular economy within Danketsu Hustle. So if you want to go up the ranks of the leaderboard, if you want to progress through the missions, you actually have to buy items from the shop. So these are off-chain items, which are essentially buffs. And what these buffs do is they enable you to get certain perks within the mission. So, all each mission has a time period. So, a mission could be 14 days or it could be a day. If it's 14 days, you could buy this buff, and this buff will essentially make it 7 days. But the likelihood of a solid outcome might decrease by 10%. So you have to kind of, you have to get the game theory of it to use those. What we are about to introduce is level gated minting. So if you reach level 10 on the Danketsu Hustle platform, you can mint a katana NFT, for example. And this katana will then show up next to your name on the leaderboard. And we will have our own marketplace within the Danketsu Hustle platform where you can trade all these secondary NFTs using Ninja's token and essentially, yeah, buy and sell those within essentially the game. Then there's quite a few other features that we have coming up with ninjas. Some of the things on Polygon that you can do with ninjas at the moment is I think we just went live today. You can do maxi raffles with ninjas token. Um, you can also upgrade the art of your NFT of the fourth on Cardano with ninjas token. Um, and now the focus is, oh well, one other thing is with the partner projects. So if you're playing like missions for another project, like say we went live yesterday with a project called Hoarders Collections. With Hoarders Collections, you can go into their shop and you can buy those items using their token, or our token. So Ninja's token's available through all the partner projects as well. Um, so that's some of the utility at the moment. We have quite a few things coming up. One of the things that we're pushing towards is actually creating a creator or a creatives incentive, not a creator incentive. Now, what that means is if you are a community member, you can spend Ninja's token to put your lore for a mission. So you write the story up and you can put it up as a proposal to be voted on to make it to the Hustle platform. Then the community uses Ninja's token to vote on that story. And if it gets through, all the Ninja's token that's spent on your story, because you are the creator of it, you actually get a cut of that token. So you continue to receive that token. You know, you might even in some cases receive a little bit of Matic or a little bit of ADA every time people partake in that mission because you are the creator of that story. So that's another thing that we're creating to incentivize creators. We do a lot of one art auctions using Ninja's token as well. We're also going to be introducing some other features around some of the more storytelling side of things. So, you know, featuring your NFTs or your ninjas as side characters. You can, you know, pay some ninjas and you can get your character in there, that kind of thing. So there's a lot of use cases that we have built out, and obviously a lot more coming up.
Yeah, no, it all seems great and kind of you know kind of like like speaking of of all that, right? You have the the hustle platform, the ninjas token, and all those things and everything like that. With the whole ecosystem, we went from Cardano to Polygon, right? Like, what made you choose Polygon? Like, what stuck out about Polygon that you wanted to come here? And also, too, do you plan on going to another chain as well?
Yeah, look, I mean, we love Cardano.
Hmm.
Cardano has been our home, and we have a very strong user base there. You know, we've had about 400 wallets that we've first time created wallets on Polygon, basically bringing our Cardano community over. So we have a very loyal base there, and I think every chain has its perks, and we love Polygon as well. Hence, you know, we decided to build on it. I think that the main reason for us was, of course, the community. Great. The fact that the focus is very different from Cardano. I think that was a big plus for us as well. You know, on Cardano, it's all about like, as you know, Jarek, like
Yeah.
pure decentralization. No
Yes.
one get involved with anything. No one, no top-down support whatsoever.
Yeah.
Community build and they grow it organically, and it's for the people, right? As they like to call it, that kind of thing. When you go to Polygon, it's a lot about let's bring Web 2 onto the blockchain. Let's become the base layer for big businesses where you know they're like DraftKings and Reddit and they're doing stuff, and Polygon is the base layer. And it's also layer 2, which has its own advantages. They obviously push quite significantly on the development front, which was great. And then of course the team, you know, like the team's nice. The team's pretty helpful. They're super supportive. You know, we did have this whole conversation that you were also in, talking about Polygon and the Polygon team and what sort of support is or isn't needed, blah blah blah. Um, Look, I always say this: if you don't want any support, go to Cardano, right? Like that's the place to build if you want no support whatsoever, because that's the ethos of the chain. I think on Polygon, you know, we were looking for a dev. I asked the team, and our Polygon dev was basically recommended to us by the Polygon team, and that's how we hired him like 4 or 5 months ago. So those sort of things are very, very helpful. And then of course the community, you know, people are really nice. Surprisingly, we found like about at least a dozen people on Polygon who had known about Ada Ninjas.
Yeah.
There was you, for example, Crypto Manimal as well, and then like a few others who were like, "Oh, what Ada Ninjas? I remember you guys." Like, wow. So that was pretty interesting. So when you think about it, this we're still like blockchain as a whole and NFT still pretty young, and small.
No, yeah, no, 100%. And I do remember y'all from Ada Ninjas and whatnot. So I was like, oh yeah, I remember these guys. And yeah, no, it was great seeing you guys around. That you guys were still like building and whatnot. But things have not always been so sunshine and rainbows here on Polygon, right? I believe, we still have a little bit of an issue, like kind of getting new people, new to come over here, like on the Polygon, in the sense of like, we had Ute Sleeve. Polygon kind of has like that negative cloud, right? And kind of like, constructive criticism. Like, what would it kind of like take, or what maybe Polygon can do a little bit better to get like new people to kind of like come over?
Yeah, look, I think it's that separation um, from Ethereum that's
Mhm.
very important to emphasize. So, I think when NFTs kind of kicked off on Polygon, the main focus was for Ethereum projects to drop their secondary collections and things like that on Polygon, which kind of set a precedent. However, if a precedent's been set, it doesn't mean that it can't be changed.
Mhm.
Uh, I think that, yes, okay, the youths thing, yeah, they came, they left, whatever. It was good. I mean, I don't think a lot of projects would have come over to build on Polygon if youths hadn't come over, so that was good. That's fine. I think the main thing, right, is just, in my opinion, trying. So what I like, right? One of the things I like is I saw that Comet just announced that they have a creator, like a KOL group or whatever, right? That they just announced, and they've picked up KOLs who are what you would call Polygon native.
Mhm.
Now there are other projects and people who've picked up a lot of creators who aren't Polygon native, and they're trying to bring them across. Now I look at them and I'm like, how often do they ever even talk about Polygon, right? Why are you forcing outsiders or rewarding outsiders in the hope that, oh well, their communities are going to listen and come in, and that's how we're going to onboard people? I don't think so, because if we look at Cardano, right, you might remember when WAB decided to engagement farm all of Cardano from Safi's field,
Yeah.
right? But what did that do? That resulted in Farmer Nash dropping goombos on Cardano organically,
Hmm.
right? He came over and he became like the biggest advocate for Cardano. So that's the kind of thing that I'm talking about, right? I think that shows like Big Nil does the espresso shot with the Azuki guys, Sansa and them. I think that's pretty good. I think that brings good eyes onto Polygon, and that's organic, right? That's like Big Nil's been doing that with them. It's not like there was any incentivization provided initially. However, I would much rather see someone like Star Platinum, who, for those of you who are watching or listening, don't know, is like a big, content creator on X for Polygon.
Really
I would
good.
much rather see, yeah, like I'd much rather see his threads organically grow and people get interested in those rather than them pulling somebody from the outside in the hope of it happening. So from a content creation front, I'm a big believer in that. And then you're gonna get the community coming in organically. We've seen all the Cosmos and Luna people come in. In our case, we've seen so many Cardano people come in who now hold multiple NFTs on Polygon. Not just Danketsu. There's quite a few in Pluto Misfits and Drill Club, Wreck Dogs, Banshees, all those collections. So it's that's going to happen regardless. But I think the focus from a top down perspective and from a project perspective should be about propping up your existing, content creators like yourself, right? Who've been at it, who've been grinding, and that's how it grows, and that's how people get interested. Like if there are 20 people every 3 or 4 days who tweet about the Jarek Brian Show because they watch it. You're gonna get, 2 or 3 people every other week who start tuning in, and then they're learning not just about Polygon but you as well. Rather than someone going, "Oh, I don't care about Polygon, even if my favorite creator is talking about it. I'm only gonna follow their ETH or Solana stuff, so I'm not gonna engage with this tweet." Or whatever it might be. Like that's just my thinking around it, man.
Yeah. No, that was really good, and I really appreciate you like for that. Kind of giving that kind of like opinion on. And no, 100% agree, right? And speaking of which, comment actually add me to that like little circle too as well. So excited about that as well. And kind of like going back to Danketsu, right? You guys have had lore and everything like that. Is there plans for like manga or any kind of like animated films in the future, or you can't really say that just right now?
Look, I mean, our vision from the conception of the business has been an animated series, right? So that's still a part of it in terms of what we are doing or what we have in the works behind the scenes. I can't really say. Manga, of course, we've already got two.
Mhm.
We've got a light novel, we've got a screenplay. It's all readable for free on our website, right? We also have something like 200 pages of fan fiction. Um, we have another like 150 pages of short story. So a screenplay. So you combine it all, it's about 1,000 pages of like lore. So a lot of that is out there, but we're shifting things a little bit where we're making the lore creation and the community engagement of that and like the community driven aspect more gamified through the hustle platform. So with the creatives element in missions, that's going to play a big role in building out more of the story, at least from a bottom up side of things. And then we've obviously got the other phases of the Danketsu Hustle platform that will come out later this year. So there will be lots of elements in that as well. But absolutely, we have so much content. We
Mhm.
have, like, right now, I can tell you that I have about 8 different pitch decks related to different things about Danketsu that make up like 85 pages, uh, completely unrelated to the other one. So that's the kind of stuff that we're working on behind the scenes, talking to a lot of people as more attention is coming into blockchain. It's still rough. I think this is the first time in the history of blockchain that we've seen less VC interest not aligning with the growth in Bitcoin or the value of Bitcoin going up. I think this is the first time that that trend has ever changed. So that does lead to a bit of difference in how things proceed. But we were also seeing pudgy penguins at a 16 ETH floor. We're seeing Azuki announcing an anime. So at the end of the day, like it further, it gives us that reassurance that this path that we set out on back in like September 2021 is the way, and the future for multimedia and IP is integrated with blockchain. And it's about continuing to do fun stuff as we push towards making that happen.
Yeah, no, I totally like that. And you had mentioned earlier that you guys definitely want to be cross chain, right? And maybe not so much that you can't say about the team, right? But where would like, you guys are already on Cardano and Polygon, though? But where else would you like kind of like to see Danketsu at if you had to kind of like choose? Not saying it's going to happen, but let's just say like what other blockchains kind of interest you?
Yeah, look, I mean, we had an offer from a couple of chains after we did the Polygon expansion. I won't say who because we didn't put pen to paper, but we declined for multiple reasons. Um, Look, I see the future of NFTs being bridgeable across chains. I see the future of tokens being bridge. I mean, they're already across chains, but even native tokens, fungible tokens for NFT projects being across chains, and there being sort of seamless integration between chains, regardless of their fundamentals, right? And more of that is available. If you told me in January 2023 that this token that we were going to launch in a few months would be bridgeable to Polygon from Cardano, people would be like, what?
Yeah.
One is like a layer one with an EUTXO model, and then the other one is a layer two on Ethereum. It doesn't make any sense. Well, now it does, and now there's another token, Shards by Flux Point Studios, that is bridgeable between Cardano and Polygon, and they have their mint on Polygon next week, I think, or in 10 days.
Mhm.
So that's another, so it's more and more of it is happening. Uh, and oh, I do want to plug there. We have a very juicy farm on Gamma at the moment for Ninja's token. So much so that I think at the moment the APR is crazy. I think it's like 600%.
Yeah.
So yeah, yeah, yeah. So there's some really nice money to make in there for anybody who's kind of interested in the farming and DeFi side of it.
Yeah, no, that's definitely man, 600% is crazy. And kind of, you know, the whole you were talking about like NFTs and the tech and with like music, manga, all these things, right? And as far as NFT technology itself, right? Like what other areas you could see NFT tech being used besides like those sectors? There's another sector that you kind of see that could be like NFTs can be really huge in.
Yeah, of course, real world asset tokenization,
Mhm.
both NFTs and fungible tokens. We're gonna see more and more of that. I think there's a lot of big money is gonna come into that side of things, and we're seeing a significant, interest in that. And I think in this bull run, we'll continue to see it. Obviously, multimedia, which is the space that we're in, but NFTs also being used as certificates of authentication. Ticketing, ticketing is huge. Gaming, of course, gaming is one of the mainstays. But there's also a lot of application in like digital identity. I
Mhm.
think that NFTs have, and there are a lot of businesses working around the DID side of things. So yeah, there's a lot of applications. However, what I do not see is PFP collections just as PFP collections being the way to onboard normies into this ecosystem, because it's just not going to last. So unless your PFP has something really solid to go with it, um, I just don't see, for example, somebody buying a weird animal that enables them to own a house. That's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Uh, that's not going to bring mass adoption. However, of course, the art will always be there. The art is always there, right? I just don't think that 10K collections of like a fish
Yeah.
are the future. So that's kind of where I am with regards to this. But I very much think that we are positioned at Danketsu in a great way with the whole multimedia thing. So gaming, music, lore, comics, and then eventually animation, because it encompasses everything. And if you think about it, right, why are shows like The Voice so popular? Because the audience
Yeah.
votes who goes in or goes out. So, and what is the one missing element in sort of the multimedia entertainment industry? When you're watching why are like that Netflix Black Mirror episode, the
Yeah.
one where they do the snatch or something,
Mhm.
where you get to pick which direction the, of the story the person goes in. That's where the future is, and the blockchain allows you to do that without necessarily being able to rig the voting, without people cheating the system, because it's all available on a public ledger. And think of it, from a revenue generation point of view as well, where you go, oh, well, we have these 1 million NFTs of our main character. They look exactly the same, but
Yeah.
each of these NFTs actually acts as a voting mechanism to pick the next step in your favorite character's journey. And if you are a part of the winning vote, then we can validate that off the blockchain, and you get something in return, like a collectible or an early access or a behind the scenes clip or something of that nature, right? So it's essentially a behemoth waiting to come and take over things. And I think that, as we see more integration with multimedia, we're going to see this happen, and this IP side of things really pop up as well.
Yeah, no, I totally agree, and I like the fact that want NFTs to evolve and whatnot, and kind of like I want to ask you kind of your opinion on this too as well. Like we're going to be in a lot better place, right? Once the happening happens, right? Everything should start looking better, like towards the positive side, in crypto and everything like that. But when all that happens, right, where everybody here kind of in Polygon is kind of hoping that we'll finally kind of have like that kind of like place in the sun, right? And where do you kind of see the Polygon NFT ecosystem at, like in the kind of like heart of this bull run? Is it be like thriving, or like where do you kind of see it kind of going?
Look, I mean, if you look at it right now as well, right? Polygon does massive numbers, but it's not the degen independent projects that are, bootstrapped and built out, that are doing it big on Polygon. Yeah, there's some exceptions, but no one's doing uh, mad numbers, right? The money is coming in from the places where Polygon has set itself up as a base layer for NFTs.
Hmm.
It's coming from the games that have big money behind them. It's coming from the projects that have VC backing. So I think the ease of access and usability on Polygon will obviously make the gaming front really, really attractive. But more than anything, I think that it's the partnerships that will come from the non Web3 side of the world, who decide to build on on the blockchain and with Polygon, that will rake in, the big money for the Polygon ecosystem. But the benefit there, I think, for the bootstrapped businesses like ours, is that you get to ride that wave, and you have to position yourself in a way where that wave, you're not just riding it, you're conquering it, right? So you need to be on top of that, and you need to have the hindsight to see, you know where is it that I can take my project and position it in a way that when X, Y, and Z players come in, I can build or foster relations with them to benefit me. So that, I think, is very much the path that Polygon is going to go down.
Yeah, no, and that right there, like I just hope everything kind of like I don't know, hope we don't have like another like Black Swan event or something like that that kind of takes everything out and kind of ruins it, right? Um, and as far as the whole, I guess you could say, how could I word this in as much like you guys had a very successful mint, right? And um, you guys brought a lot of like attention, like everybody was super hyped, right? But that was all in a bear market, right? So kind of talk to, because like we've had projects come in here, right, and you've seen it on Cardano and here, that of course, have fallen by the wayside in this bear market, right? But you guys have grinded in this bear market, and you guys have continued to push out platforms and things like that. Like, one, can you talk about some of the struggles that you had in this kind of bear market, and also two, what kind of like tips would you give projects that are gonna like be building in this next bear market too as well?
Yeah, look, I mean, keeping community engaged is always a huge challenge
Mhm.
in the bear, because in the bear everyone's grinding wherever they see the next cent potentially being made. That's where they're going to run over to. So we're very lucky to have a strong core community who really value our mission and the vision that we set out. So we've been quite lucky, and to also be able to gradually onboard some people here and there. That's been great, and build it out. On top of that, another difficult thing, obviously, look, we pivoted, right? Until the
Mhm.
end of 2022, we were solely, you vote, you get the comic, you vote, you get the music, you work, you're in the process, the gamified process of creating all that IP with us, and you're getting credits for it. And we were like, hold on, but all this does is eat into the money that we have. We're not generating anything because these things don't make you money for a while, and especially not in this market. So we had to have a major brainstorm and a rethink, and we decided to go down this path of building out an idle game and creating Danketsu Hustle. And then we were like, what's the best way to make recurring revenue? And it was through the white label service part of it, right? So we have about 30, 35 Cardano projects. I think 8 are live at the moment, and 10 Polygon projects, which will start going live next month. And with each of them, the small transaction fees that we charge, we take a cut and they take a cut from it. And that's how we generate revenue. So that was a very important thing that we had to reconsider. On top of that, obviously, taking on other things to do because you don't touch the money in your business. I mean, I haven't taken money from Danketsu since the Atsuko mint in February 2022, right? Um, so I do advisory on the side. I work with Web3 businesses. I support them with a range of things. I work on like the strategic side of things. And some I have on retainers, some I have on one-time payouts, that kind of thing. Some projects I've worked with on mint percentage, and that's kind of how you hustle and grind. So that's another uh, big thing that you kind of have to do. I mean, if you are taking lots of money out of your NFT business when you raised, like, what did we raise on Polygon? Oh, no, not a lot, like 140,000 USD. That's peanuts, right?
Mhm.
And if I'm taking a chunk of that out for myself, what's going to be left for the project? So it's a different ballgame, and I think in a way, like projects that are building out or releasing in the bear manage to sell out and have a bit of business savvy can go a very long way when the bull run comes around. So my advice is you don't need to do everything. You don't need to spend money on everything. Um, Try to see what you can get done with minimal resources. And honestly, just be active.
Mhm.
More than anything, be active. Turn up. You know, uh, Turning up goes a long way. Like, Danketsu isn't the biggest project on Cardano in volume, but it's super active and popular because the community turns up, the team turns up. We're always talking on Polygon. Obviously, we are a lot more successful, and by successful I mean on vanity metrics. So because of that, that's because of fostering that community and having people turn up and being active.
Yeah, no, that's a wonderful answer. And Shaz, you know, um, you have all these things, right? Yeah, like the anime, the manga, and everything like that. The platform, the token, and all this good stuff, though. But this year, right? Like, what do you guys hope to accomplish by the end of this year? And December 31st, 2024, what would you guys have hoped to have accomplished already in a perfect world?
The creation of the Danketsu animated series has begun.
Ooh, ooh.
Yeah.
I, I would hella
Um,
look forward to that.
yeah, looking at where the market is at, what we are expecting, looking at the success of IP focused PFP projects, looking at the decline of non IP focused PFP
Mhm.
projects. We're seeing a trend, and the integration between Web 2 and Web 3. That's the goal. I'll keep it simple.
No, no, that's great. That's great. And Shaz, like I appreciate you coming on and and sharing Danketsu. I'm a big fan of Danketsu. I actually have quite a bit of Danketsu actually already. And Shaz, before you go, right? Is there anything else you want to say? Any community members you want to shout, or anybody in general you want to shout out?
Yeah, look, Dank fam is awesome. Of course, big shout out to you, man. Go
Oh, thank
follow Hey it's Jarek on X. Make sure you watch his videos, show him some love. This guy grinds it out. He's on it all the time. So mad respect to you. I did want shout out to the Dank fam, the Dank team. They do a heck of a job. And one thing I did want to say is we're live on the Polygon Village quadratic funding round at the moment. And based on whenever this goes live, you probably still have an opportunity to go in and support. Very briefly, how it works is we want people to go in and donate like $1 to $10, not a lot of money, because the more people that donate, the more Polygon matches. So you're better off having 100 people donate $1 each than one person donate $100, and we get way more funding from the matching round. So that's live at the moment, and what that does is it actually allows us to build out Danketsu Hustle for Polygon projects free of cost to them. So we can launch Danketsu Hustle for any project on Polygon, and they don't have to do anything. We'll do all of it. Uh, yeah, so that's kind of the win there. It helps grow the ecosystem. So definitely jump in and support us.
Oh yeah, and that is great. Definitely go ahead and do that, guys. And this is gonna wrap our show, guys. And I appreciate Shaz coming on. And if you like content like this, please like, comment, share, subscribe. Follow me on X. Follow Danketsu on X too as well. Follow Shaz too as well. I have everything pinned down to the bottom. And I'll see you guys around on the next one. Take care.
Peace.